Our parsha begins with the description of the Chet of Nadav and Avihu. And the truth is that there's a stira in the Chumash in a few places, and the question of what their Chet was. In the original context of Parsha Shmini, the Torah says that their Chet was Hakrivam, that they were makriv in Eish Zara, and that was inappropriate. The service of the Eish Zara was inappropriate. But in our Parsha, the description is that Nadav and Avihu, bekarva samach v'nei Hashem v'yamusu. When they came close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they died. It sounds like the Chet for which they were punished was coming close. It was the trespassing in the Kodesh rather than the Hakrava, than the service of the Eish. So which one was it? So there are 3 deos in the Tanoim, in the Sifra, in the Teres Kohanim, at the beginning of our Parsha. Rabbi Yosef Glili says that really it was the Kreva, it was the coming close, it was the trespassing. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that each of them was a Chet, both the trespassing and their service. Each one individually made them Chayav Misa, and Kol Shekin, since they did both at the same time. Rabbi Akiva uses the principle of we have a hakchasha, we have a clash between the Psukim in Shmini and the Psukim in our Parsha. So the Chazon HaShlishi in Parshas Bamidbar, the Torah tells us that it was the hakrava indeed. It was the service of bringing the Eish Zara, not the kreva. That is the shita of Rabbi Akiva. The question remains, certainly according to Rabbi Akiva, why would the Torah, if really the main problem, the yesod of the transgression was the hakrava, was the service, why would the Torah describe it in our parsha as bekar vasa l'fnei Hashem v'yamusu? Why would the Torah focus on the trespassing in the Kodesh and not the service in our context? So it would seem that even according to Rabbi Akiva, the kreva, the coming close, was an essential part of the issue, even if that alone wouldn't have been Mechayev Misa. And certainly for Aaron Cohen, the limud in our parsha, the context of our parsha is that Moshe Rabbeinu tells Aaron, your sons, they died, Hashem, they came close in an inappropriate way. I'm going to teach you the proper way, the appropriate context in which you can approach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in which you are supposed to approach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're supposed to even go l'fnei. So something in our parsha is going to help us understand how to properly balance our desire, that almost Eish-like desire that Nadav and Avihu had to go close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how to balance that with the appropriate checks and balances, the appropriate safeguards, that we don't run into HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we observe proper kavod for him as we try to approach. Where can we find that in our parsha? The Medrash Rabbah in our parsha has a very interesting description of the fact that in our parsha we find that Aaron Cohen. Oh, let's go back. The Medrash Rabbah in our parsha says that it describes how we know that Aaron Cohen normally would wear a me'il, and the me'il has many bells on it. It's a mechalkas in Medrash, already 36 or 72 pa'amarim rimonim. It has many bells that make a sound, and the Torah tells us v'nishma kolo b'v'ol hakodesh, that there should be a sound made when he comes into the Kodesh, that there's a kavod, as it were, a melech basar v'dam. You don't just walk in, you knock on the door. You have a servant who goes ahead of you and knocks on the king's door and informs the king that you want to approach him, that you want to visit him, or there's a bell, right? He rings the bell and the melech knows someone's going to come. There's some sort of kavod of announcing your arrival before you actually arrive. And the Medrash goes on and elaborates how this is appropriate even for people, and tells a story about Tanoim, how different Tanoim, how they would knock on the door before they came home, how they would make sure not to disturb their wives and children. They would make sure to give them time to prepare for their arrival, and things like that. And that's a very important midah for us to knock on the door, to not barge in on people. The question is, it's a funny kind of medrash to have in Parshas Achrei Mos, to describe how important it is, v'nishma kol b'v'ol hakodesh, and important it is to let people know of your arrival before you come in, to have the chimes, because on Yom Kippur, of all days, Aaron Cohen goes the most lifnim, lifnai v'lifnim. He goes all the way into the Kodesh Kdoshim, and he's not wearing the me'il. He's not wearing the chimes. He's not wearing the pa'amarim rimonim. There's no sound. He walks in silently. He doesn't knock. He doesn't give the due kavod to HaKadosh Baruch Hu of letting him know that he's about to come in. It's a strange place for the Medrash. The Gemara, the Mishnah in Yuma, Nun Aleph on the base, as a machlokas as to how exactly would the Kohen Gadol walk in to the Kodesh and then in the Kodesh Kadashim. Did he go all the way on the Tzafon, all the way in the Darom? Did he go in the middle? So there's different opinions in the Tanoim. So the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Meir disagreed as to whether or not did he walk all the way straight in the Tzafon. And the Rabbi Yossi says that the Pesach, the entrance to the Kodesh Kodashim, was all the way on the northern side of the Kodesh, and that from the northern side of the Kodesh, that was where there was a space in the Paroches to get into Kodesh Kodashim, and the Kohen Gadol would walk towards that northern Pesach. Rabbi Meir disagrees. And the Gemara says, according to one opinion, the Rabbi Meir says that he wouldn't walk straight that on the tzafon of the Kodesh because mishum shchina lav orach aro. It's not derech eretz to walk straight towards the shchina. Meaning, if the Pesach is all the way on one side, the Pesach is all the way on the northern side of the Kodesh. The Pesach to the Kodesh Kodesh is all the way on the northern side of the Kodesh. It wouldn't be covered for the shchina. It's not derech eretz for the shchina to walk straight towards that Pesach. The whole time you're looking at the entrance of the Kodesh Kodashim, Rashi says, the Kohen Gadol, Kol Shan, Einav Nizonos Miz Kodesh Kodashim, Derech HaPerifa Shebekenegdo. If he walks straight towards the entrance, so the whole time he's looking at the entrance, he sees the Kodesh Kodashim, he's enjoying the view of the Kodesh Kodashim. It's not Derech Eretz for the Shechina to stare directly at it the whole time that you're on your way to the Kodesh Kodashim. That is Shitas Reb Meir. And what does Rabbi Yossi say? Rabbi Yossi says, Chavivin Yisrael shelo tzrichen hakasav l'shaliach. Chavivin Yisrael shelo tzrichen hakasav l'shaliach. Klal Yisrael is chaviv that they don't need a shaliach. So therefore, the Kohen Gadol could walk straight towards the Pesach and the Tzafon. He could walk straight towards it. There's no chisaron derech eretz in the Kohen Gadol walking straight towards the entrance of the Kodesh Kodashim. The question is, what do those words mean? Chavivin Yisrael shelo tzrichen hakasav l'shaliach, and what does that have to do with walking straight towards Kodesh Kodashim? Rabbeinu Chananel in the Gemara says that we notice on Yom Kippur a difference between the Avodah Kohen Gadol. There are many differences, of course, but one in particular that's relevant to this Gemara that makes the Kohen Gadol's Knisa into the Kodesh different in Yom Kippur than the rest of the year. And that difference is the absence of a Shaliach. What Shaliach are we talking about? It says Rabbeinu Chananel, the Shaliach is the Pa'amaniv Rimonim. The announcement, normally in the rest of the year when the Kohen Gadol walks into the Kodesh or wherever he goes, there are shalichim, he has a messenger, as it were, who goes ahead of him. The Eved goes ahead and knocks on the door and says, your servant, the Kohen Gadol, would like to visit you. That is the sound of the Pa'amaniv Rimonim, the Nishma Kol Bava Kodesh, and those are a way of the Kohen Gadol showing his deference to the Shechina, and that is the way he shows kavod for the Shechina. But the fact that in Yom Kippur he doesn't wear the meal, the fact that in Yom Kippur the Kohen Gadol goes in without wearing the bells and chimes, without the Pa'amaniv Rimonim, shows us that there's a special chavivus that Kohen Gadol has on Yom Kippur, and not just Kohen Gadol, he's the representative of Klal Yisrael. There's a special chavivus that all Klal Yisrael, represented by the Kohen Gadol, have, that in Yom Kippur we go in as the Balabatim. And we go in as the Balabatim who don't have to be worried about perhaps infringing on the kavod of the Baal Bayis, of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu invites us to come into the Kodesh Kodesh in Yom Kippur. He says, then you don't even have to knock. You're welcome to come in. I want to see you on Yom Kippur. Don't even worry about knocking. Please come in. Feel completely at home. Since on Yom Kippur there's a special chavivus, symbolized by the fact that Kohen Gadol doesn't have to announce his arrival, he doesn't have to send a shaliach going forward, says Rabbi Yossi, because of that chavivus, he also can walk straight in. He doesn't have to go in a roundabout way through the Kodesh and then turn and then at the end find the entrance to Kodesh Kodashim. He can walk straight in. Chaviv in Yisrael, Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to see us. He wants to bring us close. There's a special kurva. There's an incredible kurva expressed by the Avodas Yom Kippur in general, by the Kohen Gadol in particular, not having to wear the Pa'amaniv Rimonim, but the Kohen Gadol, according to Rabbi Yossi, walking straight in to the Kodesh Kodashim. And perhaps that is what Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to tell Aaron HaKohen. It's true that perhaps according to Rabbi Akiva, the main fate of Nodan Avihu was the Akrava. But certainly a part of that, a part of what led them to do the Akrava was their feeling of being too comfortable in the Kodesh. They could just go into the Kodesh. Even the Karva into the Kodesh was a chisaron. Why did they feel so comfortable going in? They didn't follow the proper protocol for going in to the Beis Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu wants to tell Aaron Cohen, it's coming from a good place. there's an appropriate time and place where a person should feel completely comfortable. First, a person should feel that kurva to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We can just go in. And that time and place is on Yom Kippur. We don't need the Palmim Nivrim. You don't need to announce yourself. You can walk straight in to Kadosh Baruch Hu. The rest of the year, however, one has to observe the proper protocols. The person has to have the proper sense of kavod, the proper sense of hachna'a to Kadosh Baruch Hu, such that there is a certain barrier, certain distance that one has to observe.